please welcome Mark Davis to the 2012 Cloud Computing Conference.
What is the cloud? Well, if you're using something like Gmail for your email, then you're working in the cloud. If you use YouTube to upload videos, or maybe Dropbox or iCloud to share files, you're working in the cloud. Even if you use Facebook or LinkedIn or any number of these consumer applications, you're already working in the cloud. So even if you can't really define what the cloud is, chances are you're probably already using it. But let's give it a try, right? Let's try and define what the cloud is. Here's one definition that I like. The cloud is the use of web services to perform the functions that were traditionally done with software installed on a computer. And here's another definition that I actually like better. The cloud is a new generation of internet-based computing where applications are provided to computers and other devices on demand, like electricity. And in a production environment, this notion of on-demand applications is really important because when you're in production, maybe you're in go-fast mode, you need to turn it up. When you're not in production, you can turn it down, and I'll highlight why that's important a little bit later. All right, here's a picture. You may have something like this in your office, right? A jumble, a tangle, a mess of cables and lights and boxes. Okay, this is what it looks like before you start working in the cloud. When you start working in the cloud, this is what it looks like. You stop thinking of computing as a physical thing, right? And instead, you just log in and you get to work, whether it's on your computer or your tablet or your mobile device. And this is also really important as well because these days, who wants to be locked down to an office, right? People want to be available to work wherever they may be. And to that extent, you have the cloud and you combine it with these mobile devices. These mobile devices really become a virtual terminal into your office. It really frees you up in terms of where you can work. All right, so if that's the cloud, fine. But is it really a big deal? Because we're all hearing all the hype. It's hard to avoid all the hype, right? But is it really justified? Well, let me throw a couple numbers out there. 2 years ago, cloud computing was a $20 billion a year industry. 2 years from now, it'll be a $55 billion a year industry. These are big numbers. Let me try and put this into context, okay? What you're seeing here, if you can read it in the back, is a list of the top 10 fastest growing industries worldwide, okay? And reading from the bottom up, you've got everything from correctional facilities, okay, who knew? Video games, biotech. But if you look at the fastest growing industry, it's cloud computing by a healthy margin, growing at a rate of 25% a year. So not only is it a big industry already, but it's growing quicker than any other industry out there. All right, so the next logical question is, all right, it's big, fine, but why is it happening now? What changed? Why is it becoming so big now? And as I see it, there are really three drivers behind why you're seeing the explosion of the cloud right now. First is something called virtualization, a clunky word. Can anybody raise their hand and with a straight face say, I know what this means? Oh, okay, wow, all right, impressive. Okay, well, for the rest of us, right, I'll try, rather than trying to explain it over hours, what I'm just going to do is show you a picture, okay? This is a picture of my desktop. You see a little red icon in the corner there that says Windows 7. Now, if I double-click on that icon, it opens up a window, even though I'm running a Mac, that opens up a Windows machine on my Mac. So within that window, and I can open up that window to go full screen if I want, that's fine, but I'm running a Windows machine on my Mac. And where this starts to become really interesting is I could have not just one of those little red icons. I could have 2 or 3 or 5 or 10. I could have any number of these virtual machines running on my Mac. And actually what's more important is they don't have to be running on my Mac. They can be running anywhere. They can be running in the cloud. They can be running somewhere else. And this notion of virtualization is really one of the core underpinning technologies in the cloud. The next driver is broadband. Okay, so if some of you are as old as me, right, you maybe remember having your first internet connection at 56K, maybe 128K, maybe your first broadband at 768K, and you were jumping for joy, right? But maybe you'd always heard about places like South Korea and Thailand and places far away where they had super turbo fast speeds. And we thought, well, we're never going to get it here, right? Well, actually, it's here now, right? So, for example, I live in New York City. My local provider is called Cablevision, and they've got a service where you can get 101 megabits per second down and 15 up. Maybe some of you have Fios. Maybe you have the top tier of Fios. 150 megabits per second down This is fast, right? I mean, these are crazy speeds. Let's say, for example, you have the top tier of FiOS, where you get 35 megabits per second up. To us, chances are many of those people in this room, I'm guessing, need to upload videos, right? So if you want to upload a 1 gigabyte file at that speed, it takes 4 minutes. A 10 gig file, 40 minutes. A 30 gig file in under 2 hours. So these speeds are here now, and if they're not where you live now, chances are they're going to be there soon, and this is another driver of the cloud. Now, the third driver is not actually technology. It's the economy. So I read recently in the Wall Street Journal, there was a headline that leapt out at me, which said, economic outlook darkens. I thought it was pretty dark already, right? But the point is, it's a difficult economy. It's a difficult environment. And these days, it's more important than ever to spend less money and to get more for less. And the fact is, cloud computing, 9 times out of 10, it's just cheaper. Simple as that. It's also faster, especially in terms of experimenting, right? Because what you'll see is with a lot of these cloud-based applications, they have a free trial. So you can try them out maybe for 30 days, 45 days, and you can see if it works for you. If it works, great. You may want to upgrade to a paying service. If not, no harm, no foul. You just move on to the next one. So it's really easy to experiment with these different technologies. Now, the next two your accountants will really love. First is it's pay-as-you-go, generally speaking. You're not going to sign a contract for a lot of these cloud-based services. You just turn them on, start using them, pay as long as you use them. And the other is around variable cost. So like in production, maybe when you're not in production, you may have 3 or 4 people on your team. Maybe when you're in production, you have 100. So you can turn these services, again, up and down on demand when you need them. Okay, so those are the 3 drivers behind the rapid growth of the cloud: virtualization, broadband, and the economy. So let's now sort of zoom in. We've looked at the big picture of what the cloud is. Now let's zoom into what I think is most relevant to the people in this room today, which is production in the cloud, right? My company, one of the most fun things we do is we like to talk to our friends in the industry and gather data. We ask them, what kind of cloud-based tools are you using? How's it working out for you? And we publish this information. I'm going to share some of this information with you now, some of the latest data that we've gathered in terms of what tools people are using. And we kind of divide them up into 5 different buckets. The first is around email. And by a mile, most people who are using cloud-based email are using Gmail. In terms of a shared calendar, what we see most often in a production environment is Google Calendar. People are starting to mess around a little bit with iCloud, but there's kind of still a lot of confusion around iCloud and what it means and what it can do. In terms of file sharing, a lot of people tell us they use Dropbox, and Dropbox is a cool technology, but oftentimes in the same breath they'll say, I like Dropbox, but it's not really great for a production setting in terms of being able to set security settings and permissions for different people accessing your different projects. The next bucket is what we call production elements, and these are just cloud-based apps, right? So you may have heard of something called Adobe Story, which is their script writing application. There's another one called Script. There's another one called Quick Film Budget, which does as it says. And it seems like there's new cloud-based apps for the production world coming out almost every day. And there's another group of technologies which is really around video collaboration. Okay, so you got companies like Fifth Kind and Media Silo who offer tools where you can upload videos and share it, annotate it, things like that. And that's fine, right? But there's a problem. And the problem is what you're seeing on that screen. The problem is there's a lot of tools, right? And if you're working in a production environment, it can actually get very difficult to tell your team, okay, we're going to use this app for that and this one for this, and here's the login over there. It gets really difficult to manage all of these different tools, and some of you may be seeing this right now. So what you've seen over the last, 18 to 24 months maybe, is the emergence of another category of cloud-based tools, which is around production management, which is about bringing together all of these various tools into one environment for a single logon. And you've got some pretty cool companies in the space doing some interesting things. So you may have heard of companies like Lightspeed and Shotgun and some others. And it seems like there's more coming out almost every week. There's another one. But what you're starting to see now over the last year or so is actually another generation of companies. And those are companies that bring together not only production management, but also video tools. We are in the video business, after all, right? So you can finally do your production management and have your video management all in one login in a browser-based environment. And that's what my company, Scenios, does. And again, I think what you can expect to see are more and more companies like this evolving over the years ahead. But what I want to do now is show you what it looks like when all of these different functions start to come together in a single logon environment. And I'm unfortunately limited in time, so I can't give a full demo of Scenios, but I'm just going to show you some screenshots of what this looks like so you get a sense for how it works. Okay, so Scenios, we describe it as a virtual production office that's based in the cloud to do things like manage your script, your budget, your schedule, call sheets, and video. So like with any cloud-based platform, there's no software to install. You just log in and get to work. So you can see here I've logged into a project. This is a independent feature film called Hughes the Force, which was shot by a really talented young director in LA. You should Google this movie. It's very funny. But anyway, you can see the project, and there's a number of buttons on the left-hand side, one of which says Production Office. So let's click there, and let's go into the Production Office, okay? And when you do that, it opens up a set of apps related to the Production Office. So the first one is Cast and Crew List. You got to get everybody together, right? So you can see here's my cast and crew. You can expand each section. So here I've expanded my crew section, and you can see all the different departments for this particular project. Now the user defines what departments they're using for their project, and these are the departments that were used on this film. And if I open one of these departments, let's go into the production office. You can see the people that are involved in working on this project. It's really easy to connect people to a project. You just send them an email through Scenios, they click on the link, and they connect. And then once everybody's connected, you can begin collaborating, right? So oftentimes, productions will begin with the script, not surprisingly. So there's a couple different things you can do here. You'll see a little button that says Upload Script. Now, roughly 95% of our users who are using script-based script writing software use Final Draft. No surprise, right? So you can say I've uploaded a Final Draft script here. Now, if I click on that, it opens up the Final Draft script in a browser window. I'm not using Final Draft right now. You're looking at the script in the browser window. The browser opens up full screen because you don't want to see anything else. You just want to see the script, right? So you see the script on the left. You see the index cards on the right. If you click on an index card, it takes you to that part of the script. And also for security reasons, you may be able to see on the script piece the name of the user, Mark Davis, in this case, is watermarked in the script. And that's one of the things we do, again, to protect content. So what this means is anybody who needs to see the script who's on your team doesn't need Final Draft, right? They don't need it installed. Saves a lot of money, makes things a lot easier, okay? But what if you want to write the script? What if you don't want to use Final Draft? What if you want to write the script in the browser? Now that's possible as well, right? So there's a button there. You may be able to see that says Create Script. If you do that, it's going to open up what looks like Microsoft Word. In the application. Okay, so you can write the script in real time with your colleagues. Now I'm going to move a little quicker. I've got 5 more minutes. There's also a web-based schedule where people can, it's a simple web-based calendar. People can add events, whether it's a day, a week, an hour, whatever it may be. There's call sheets, right? So you can upload your call sheet. One has been uploaded here. I'm going to click on it. People can view the call sheet right in their browser. And actually, when you distribute the call sheet, you can get an audit log. You can see who saw the call sheet. So you're not guessing if people are going to show up at their call in the morning. There's a way to manage your locations. This is Google Maps tied into the platform. You can see there are 3 locations here. If I click on one of them, it gives me a bird's eye view of the location. If I click on it again, it gives me a street view of the location. So you can really start to visualize where you're shooting that day. You can do your budget in Scenios. So if you click Create Budget, it opens up a spreadsheet in the browser where, again, you can collaborate and write your budget in real time. And here's what that looks like. And if you can see in the back, there's a number of tabs down at the bottom of this budget. So it's much like Excel running in your browser. There's also a file cabinet app where you can upload pretty much any kind of document that you would expect to be working on. So that's the production office. Now let's go into the next blue button, which says Video Files, okay? And you can see there are 3 apps there, Selected Shots, Rough Cuts, and Final Cuts. We're going into rough cuts here. You can see 7 clips have been uploaded. Now, this is a tool for professionals. So you can upload things like DNX HD and ProRes format. If I click on one of the videos, it opens up a player. It has a number of features. I can't go into them all right now, but one to highlight is a shot log, where you can do shot logging right on the video, and you can annotate it right in the browser. It's being used by a number of people, not only for shot logging, but also for review and approval. Now, there's also a way to customize each project, because let's face it, everybody's workflow is different, and that's actually one of the points, right? So it's easy to customize the project. You can move apps higher and lower in the left-hand menu. You can even create your own apps. There's a number of app templates you can use. There's also a number of real-time collaboration tools. So you can see along the top there are a number of faces. Those are people who I'm connected to on Scenios who are online right now. I can click on their name to do things like send them an instant message. And there's also a button that says conference room. If I click on there, you can do video conferencing for up to 10 people. So you can do things like virtual production meetings and virtual table reads. So that's one example of a virtual production office, a cloud-based production platform. Now, what does this mean to producers, people who make content? Well, in a nutshell, it basically gives you your next edge, right? Scenios or any of these other kind of technologies. Helps you manage better, spend less money, work more quickly. You're not waiting for stuff because you're working in real time. You can go green, right? You're not going to get rid of paper, but you can use a lot less, that's for sure. You can experiment, try these different apps, see how they work for you. And you can even sell better. A lot of people are using these tools not only when they're in production, but when they're in development and they're putting a project together. So if we're trying to look at where this industry is going, what you can expect to see over the years ahead, what I like to do as a student of this industry is really try to understand where it's been, right? So over the last 100 years, obviously we started out with film, moved into video, and then nonlinear editing. Over the last 10 years or so, I don't need to tell you, there's been a lot of advances in tapeless and high-def workflows. The next logical evolution of this, right, is moving it to cloud-based workflows. And it's really only within the last 12 to 18 months that the technologies have advanced to a point where they're easy enough, they're intuitive, and they're inexpensive enough where you're starting to see really wide adoption. So in terms of what's coming, I think you're going to see a couple things. First of all, so far there's been a lot of FUD, right? Fear, uncertainty, and doubt about the cloud. And that's normal, right? It's normal for any new technology. Whether it was online banking or the web or fax machines, there's always FUD with profound new technologies. But what you're starting to see is the FUD is decreasing, right? People are starting to get more familiar with it. They're starting to understand what it means and how it can impact their workflow. And over time, I think what we're going to see is people are going to stop questioning the cloud, and rather they're going to start questioning, well, what cloud-based tools are right for me? And the second thing I think you're going to start seeing is the emergence of hybrid offline and online cloud applications. Okay, so we talk to a lot of people who say, hey, if I'm on set in the middle of the desert, I can't connect to the cloud, right? So, for example, you're going to start seeing companies like what we're doing. In June, the next version of our iPad app, it's going to have an offline reader. So even if you're offline, it will have stored all the information locally. So you'll be able to see your iPad is like your production book, and you don't need to be online. And I think you're going to see that as a trend. So, in a nutshell, that's how we think the cloud is transforming production as we know it. I think we're out of time. Yeah?